Bear with me, people. I'm nearly there. Okay, here we go. Found it. Right. Why is my shoulder in the air? Okay. Oh, God. These are just so awful. Right. Don't say good morning, because it might not be the morning. Okay. Hey everyone, my name's Lindsay. I'm the founder of Customer Thermometer. We are one of the market leaders in simple feedback solutions. Today I'm going to be talking about great customer support and what that might look like in 2021. There are quite a few things changing, obviously to do with the pandemic. It's accelerated a lot of trends that were happening before. But also I think more generally, we've sort of settled down a bit now into what things might look like. We've got a bit more of a view on it. So I wanted to just talk through some trends and some things that we're seeing to hopefully help people plan for 2021. So to start with, today we're going to cover, first of all, the trends in technology purchase and use for 21. I think that's quite important, not just in terms of how support teams are using technology, but just how the population at large is interacting with technology. 3 things that you can do to outperform the competition, 3 things we're seeing some other customer support teams do that I think might be really interesting to consider what you could take from it. Obviously, not everybody can do every single one of the things that I'm going to cover today, because some of them are industry specific or customer specific, but I think they'll give you some food for thought around how you could do some bits and pieces in your team, and then how to use your support team to give you some insight into what might be coming down the line for your particular company in 2021. So, first thing to really consider, you sort of not so much just read it as take it in, is that the regular touch points that you have been disrupted. So you have been forced to adapt. Everybody has been forced to adapt in one way or another. But those regular touch points that you relied on, the things that were the touchstone for your business and your experience with your customers have been disrupted in pretty much every industry. And whether you're doing brilliantly as a result of the pandemic, or whether you're in one of those industries that's been forced to stop completely or somewhere in between, the way that you interact with your customers is definitely going to be different. And I think it's worth bearing in mind that those customer touch points, you might be selling a lot, you might be selling a lot less, you might be giving lots of refunds, but the way that people are interacting with you is very different than the way that they're used to doing it. So make sure that you're considering what that looks like and that you're not just waiting for things to go back to how they were. This great quote was in the FT at the start of November, saying 9 months into this battle against a pandemic, we need to stop treating COVID-19 as an emergency, panicking over every new statistic, and start planning for the long haul. It really does feel like that, both in terms of our own business and what all of our customers and prospects are telling us, that this long haul part is important for 2021 and beyond. In the past week or so, we've had the news of a potential Pfizer vaccine. There was bound to be more hot on the heels of that. However, the way that just the sheer number of people, the logistics, the unknowns about the whole thing mean that there's going to be a very slow recovery to whatever normal looks like over the next couple of years. And so this planning for the long haul, this reimagining your relationship with your customers it does need to start now. Going from panic mode, from service mode, from sort of open to close with the locks and the unlocks, needs to really start to be much more around this planning for the long haul and how you can do that. Speaking of which, this is one of my favourite cartoons ever. My dad used to have this on his wall in his office when I was little. I'll show you what happens if you don't plan ahead. I mean, it's a lovely visual joke, but I do think so many of us are tired and burnt out. We've had a lot to adapt to, both psychologically and emotionally, as well as just in terms of the way the business works. But next year is going to be, as the Times says, it's going to be a long haul. It's going to be these new cast relationships with customers are going to carry on. So definitely do take some time, shut yourself away somewhere quiet and just have a think about what that could look like for next year. Because I think it might be one of those things that when you do take some time away to look at it, you'll realize that customers, maybe they're not getting the sparkle that they used to get from you, or maybe they're not getting the inspiration that they used to get from you. So how can you provide that going forward, and how can your support team provide that into 2021? Despite vaccines, despite unlocks and relocks and different things, I think it's safe to assume everything will be virtual and remote until further notice. It hopefully won't be, and hopefully there will be, a faster and more exciting return to normal than I'm probably planning. But I think if you assume everything is virtual and remote as a baseline and build from that, then you're in a better place to deal with any lockings and unlockings in any real life and not real life. I think it's probably just safer. And I also think that in doing so, you won't give yourself an excuse almost to wait for things to go back to normal. You will actually have to say, okay, if I can only deal with everybody remotely almost for the rest of time, how does a brilliant digital service work for my business, for my team? And, assuming that I won't have anybody's phone numbers, for example, because the switchboards, etc., how can I provide the most amazing service virtually and build from there? So this longer term planning, this idea of how do you deliver a great and inspiring experience and make it easier for people, and really ask yourself those hard questions about your digital level of support is important. Obviously, your internal teams are scattered too, so making sure that you're engaging with the people that are delivering this for you is crucial. They need to come on this journey with you. And yes, technology will need to do the heavy lifting. There's got to be, I think, a real investment in the sorts of platforms that you will need to carry you and your team into next year. So we've seen this in a lot of places. Obviously, this is my car here at the bottom, but COVID has turbocharged existing trends. Everything that was happening in the background, I'm thinking particularly banks, actually. I've seen some really interesting stuff just from friends online who are struggling desperately to change anything where they have a bank that's built on the premise that you can go into a branch. So the Monzos and the Starlings of this world are absolutely rip-roaring away because they have that digital platform, that real customer investment underpinning everything else. So do look at that, because it raises the bar across the piece. If you can bank like that, if you can do social media like that, if you can FaceTime, if you can do everything digitally, except for when people are dealing with you, or except for when people are dealing with your support team, if that's hard or it's sticky or it's just difficult, I think you need to be aware that this global change has really raised the bar across the piece. So there's some quotes in here from Gartner, McKinsey, Salesforce, Forrester, that saying basically it's about transformation, it's about customer experience, it's about the fact that if you can give that easy and satisfying experience, then you really can increase your lifetime value so miraculously. And the final point, which I'll come on to in a bit more detail in a second, is that this is a consumer thing. But I think, we are all consumers at heart, and our consumer behavior changes what we expect on a business level. So almost half of consumers are budgeting and choosing more carefully since the pandemic began, according to McKinsey. Now, we've pulled together, or you can find this on our blog, on our website, but we've pulled together 10 stats that show some of the other changing consumer behavior that's happened since COVID. And I think, people are switching to less expensive products. People are spending more time researching what they do. They're becoming savvier online buyers. They're becoming more mindful of where they spend their money. So if they're doing that at home, they'll be doing that at work as well. So make sure that what you are providing online steps up to that expectation, both in terms of sales and support information. Mobiles had a really big spike in internet shopping. So, is what you do online mobile optimized? If people are homeschooling or running around the house and trying to do two things at once, can they get access to the information that you're providing? And then interestingly, again, 3 in 5 consumers have switched who they buy from. So lots and lots of switching behavior, lots of sort of out with the old, in with the new, which again will definitely start to trickle down into business over the course of the next couple of months. So be aware of that as well. So Gartner has come out with its trends in technology purchase for 2021. Well, actually, 2021 and beyond. They've talked about this being the thing that's going to impact the next 5 years. Some really interesting things in here for customer support teams and leaders. First and foremost, I think more important than anything is this trend they've talked about, which is total experience strategy. So the idea here is that businesses should look at their total experience strategy as one thing, and it combines the sort of siloed disciplines that they've talked about previously. So it combines the silos of customer experience, employee experience, user experience, and looks at them holistically to be able to create a better overall experience for all parties, is how they describe it. It suggests, therefore, that companies can kind of optimize across all of those different pieces in one place. Now, this definitely bodes well for any customer experience teams, because I think customer experience can only be changed when you start to engage the employees and the users as well. So I think if you are a customer experience user as well, a customer thermometer user, it's very easy to be able to see all 3 of these things through a sort of single pane of glass, which I'll come on to in a bit. But this is a free download from Gartner. I highly recommend it. I think my big takeaways are the experience strategy piece is brilliant, and I love the idea of seeing all 3 things in one place. This location independence that we're seeing everywhere that we talked about, making sure that your operations can be delivered brilliantly from anywhere. And then this idea of resilient delivery. And again, we're seeing this in our own business, that people are very keen to make sure that they can deliver their product, their service, for us, the digitally, delivering a piece of software from anywhere. So that, it can be one of those things that, you can build, you can grow, and you can deliver all of these different parts of your system and your service across different parts of the globe easily. So I really would recommend reading this. It's very short, but it's very good. And there's a video on their YouTube channel where they talk about it too. Forrester followed hot on the heels the following week. This is probably slightly more of a marketing bent, but I don't dislike it for that. It talks about putting customer obsession at the heart. And it talks about how a lot of investment globally is shifting from sort of net new kind of marketing outbound reach into retention methods, because customers, as we've seen from the stats that I just presented, are becoming a bit more promiscuous. They are switching, they're looking at different products. So I think a lot of people are saying, well, let's keep the ones we've got because it's cheaper, rather than going out and finding new ones. So if your competitors are investing in their customer retention, then that's something that you need to look at as well. And then finally, more than a third of B2B tech buyers, and this is really pertinent for a lot of customer thermometer customers, say that digital engagement such as vendor websites have become more important in buying journeys, and human engagement with sellers has become less important. So, anybody who is already looking at your website is probably already quite a long way down the buying journey. So really do look at investing in that, and the sort of where sales and support combine in terms of the 2 different types of materials. If you can get as much crossover as possible there, I think that will be incredibly valuable for helping people move through your funnel quickly and helping your support team deliver great support and keep people happy. So 3 things that we've seen that you can do to outperform the competition. The first one is to craft digital experiences as opposed to real life ones, which is what we're all very used to doing. The second is simplicity at light speed, and the third is a continuous feedback loop. So digital experiences, for start on the right-hand side, these are 2 screenshots that I took. The top one is, they're basically both online payment systems. The top one is WorldPay, the first page that you see when you go to WorldPay's website, and the bottom one is Stripe. Now, We at Customer Thermometer have been a customer of both of these providers, and the onboarding, the customer experience, the customer service is wildly different. And you can see right from the get-go that your first step in this user journey to get some help or to get onboarded with them, the top, they're basically saying, before we'll even show you our website, tell us what country you're in. And yet Stripe is saying, here is what we do, very easy, nice screenshot and some social proof about other people that use us. And this mantra follows all the way through what they do. Your customers and your potential customers, people that need your help, they're stuck indoors, they're potentially locked down, and they're looking for new ways to educate themselves. They're looking for ways to add value to their business, but they're also looking to be entertained and not be bored. So what have you got that's well used, but actually could be better? Or what have you not got that you think you could build that would be really fun and engaging? If everyone else's support materials are really dry, but you've got something really fun and engaging, people will not only use it, but they will refer others to it as well. So now's the time when, lockdown's happening and investment in digital technology is at its best, to create the assets that you've never had time to create before, to get stuff out there that people will find useful and interesting. There's a marketer called Seth Godin. His books are great. If you haven't read any of them before, they're really easy and fun reading, actually. And he wrote a book called Purple Cow, where he said boring stuff quickly becomes invisible. If you have the ability to do something fun and interesting, I think now's the time to get it started. The second one, a simple point, but a really, really important one, is if you can provide support that offers simplicity at light speed, you're doing something that the competition aren't. So plot a very simple journey for the customer to take, and maybe consider live chat, if you don't already have it, as something where you can take somebody from sale through to service as seamlessly as possible, so that they know that you're always going to be there and that it's not a robot and that they're not dealing with something that won't ultimately be able to help them. It's very likely that the team that you have in your business are having fewer meetings and very little or zero travel. So can they be repurposed to provide an instant or near instant answer for people in customer support? Where we're seeing this is, somebody might have an hour of their day set aside where they're not on Zoom to tackle a particular thing or to get a particular piece of customer detail nailed. And if they're on your live chat or they're on your website and they need help, if you can help them there and then, you're way above what the industry norm is still to this day. So, you'd be surprised if you talk to your team whether, shift work would suit them well with what they currently have in terms of their home setup. So, if you're there to answer queries and support your customers when your competitors aren't, then you are providing yourself with a real advantage there and some brilliant word of mouth. And the third one is to build a continuous feedback loop. So this right-hand side screenshot is actually from a very old book by the lovely Tom Peters, who was a great management author. And he says, it's 11 a.m. Have you called a customer today? Stop now. Call a customer out of the blue. How can I help? Have we delivered on every promise? Listen, take copious notes, and follow up in 48 hours. Now, Customer Thermometer was kind of built off the back of this screenshot in many ways. I've always loved this book called The Little Big Things, or The Big Little Things. And he talks to, basically this concept of reaching out to people and saying, can we help you? I think a lot of support teams are sort of broadcasting back. So tickets are coming in and they're writing back. Tickets are coming in and they're writing back. Whereas actually, if you're getting ahead of that curve and ahead of that piece and sort of getting a continuous feedback loop with your customers, then you can head off the problems at the pass. So, get feedback on as much as you can and build that loop where possible within the support team too. You can use tools like Customer Thermometer to do that, or you can do it just as simply as Tom describes here by picking up the phone or booking a call a day or a call a week with some key customers. So 3 ideas we've seen from customer support teams recently. Now, these are just things that as a group we have seen and gone, that's really good. That's a bit different. that makes my life easier and makes me happy to deal with this brand. So they aren't customers of ours necessarily, and they aren't, in the technology B2B industry necessarily either. But I think you can take stuff from this to be able to improve what you do. And we've certainly already learned a few lessons from this. So the first one is to virtualize your service and provide real-time assistance. So this screenshot on the right is from a company called H&R Block. And they file your tax. And normally you would sit down with them and you would talk through your tax, and then they would help you file it. And they realized that their entire business model in the pandemic was at risk. So what they've done is they've done this online chat. So as you go through it, you have a real expert there who's kind of just sitting at your side virtually to help you to fill in the forms and to help you to sort your tax out. So given what we all do, given that many of us are supporting customers while they physically do something or do something online, I don't see any reason why this can't be something that many people could adopt. So you have, this virtualized real-time support person. And if you can't have that, then at the very least, I think if you looked at the top 5 or top 10 most common problems, and instead of just doing a sort of here's the page that explains how to do the thing that's not obvious, that you go into your business or your app or your product, and you try and point up that part early on to head it off at the pass, or that B, you kind of screen cam in a fun way, in an engaging training way, your favorite hacks and workarounds, so that actually you're helping people as they're doing this stuff in real time. So that was one thing we really liked. The second piece is by Intercom, phenomenal brand. Their technology I just love. I think it's incredibly clever. And they have been talking about, and the industry has been talking about, proactive customer support for a while. But I do think we're now seeing a number of brands proactively offering help and guidance to people before they need it. So this graphic on the right talks about how if you can lay proactive support above your self-service and your human interaction, then you can help the customer more effectively. So it's, they call it the antidote to long wait times, the antidote to sort of ticket deflection, but it will empower the support team to get on top of what's going on, so they can sort of preemptively address known questions and issues before they arise. So things like, sending out a message within either the app or within the product to say, we know that this particular thing's a problem, here's how you can get around it. Or, we have got a particular newsletter that goes out that we could drop something into. So I think this idea of proactively understanding that something is causing questions or something is causing issues and tackling it head on reduces what you then get in to your team. Then obviously the self-service bit, which we're all very used to, and the human bit, but because you're reducing the number of queries that you get, it means that you can be better on the self-serve and even better on the human piece. So I really like that as a concept, and as a graphic, I think it's really, really well rendered. And then this is actually a screenshot of my phone. I was returning an item via DHL, and I booked a delivery right in the midst of the return in the middle of the pandemic. The guy didn't turn up, and I was conscious that the thing was going to run out of its return window. And when I went on to the app that I bought this thing through, it redirected to this text message interaction where I explained what had happened. And instead of saying, here's the help guide, here's a link to go and do it, it should all work now, why don't you just try again? They said, when are you in next week? And then I've just done this for you. And I genuinely went, I really don't recall that happening before. And they anticipated the need. They realized that I'd already done that thing once and didn't want to have to do it again. And they did it. And you can see on the right here, I've booked a new collection for Friday, that's September the 25th. Here's the booking reference. Here's the number if there's a problem. And then, there was a rating option in there, which, as you can see, I clicked. So I thought that was brilliant. And I think that is something we can all learn from in customer support, which is to go beyond the fix to organising the solution. We're probably all a lot more empowered in support teams than we realise to just say to the customer, either I've done that for you, or would you like me to just go ahead and do that for you if you need permission? But it's so brilliant when something gets done for you. If you've already reached out for help, then you're either slightly on the back foot, or you're hassled, or you're time pressured. Nobody wants to use support. Nobody does it for fun. So if you can go beyond that fix to organising the solution and say, thanks for your query, actually, we've gone ahead and set that up in your account, or we've gone ahead and booked that or ordered that, I think it's just phenomenal service. So coming to the conclusion then, I think one thing that we see ourselves, and one thing that I would really encourage everyone to do, is your support team is actually, although it's towards the back end of the business in terms of the process in many people's minds, what really is happening is that existing customers who are looking at their needs for next year and looking at what they need to do are writing in and asking for help about that now. So your support team can give you insights as to what's coming next and what you might want to expect for 2021. They are pointing signposts at you. So have a look at what customers are asking for and needing. What's new and what's different? What's standing out for you? What format do they want it in? Are they asking for videos? Are they asking for a PDF? What's different? And also, what do your stats tell you? So if I look at our user guide stats on our website and our tickets in our support system, I can see that people are increasingly trying customer thermometer in Outlook and Gmail, for example, before they integrate it with their bigger systems. That's quite new. So we're beefing up the information that we offer around that. We're offering more help to people who want to do that and support as well. And if I look at our ticketing system, I can see that we're getting questions from people who want to use customer thermometer to check on how their employees are feeling, as well as their customers, which goes back to Gartner's trends. So what we would normally see is that people would maybe sign up to use customer thermometer either just in the customer experience space, or just in user experience, or just in employee experience. Some would use it for multiple reasons, but not many. And increasingly, the pandemic is encouraging people to get more value out of the technology that they use, but also appreciate how important employee engagement is. So we're proactively creating employee feedback and journey mapping tools for people to use, both within support and within our sales process as well. So, if you take those things together, I think it's a really good signpost as to what 2021 will look like for us as a business. And I'm sure that if you look at your statistics, they'll help you prepare things that will be useful for 2021 as a result. So some takeaways. Even though support is a big part of what today's all about, have a look at your website journey and the routes to reach your customer support team, and keep them as simple and easy and as engaging as possible. Mystery shop your company as regularly as possible, or ask a contact or a friend to do it for you and feed back to you. It is amazing what you are blind to in terms of how easy it is to deal with you. Simplicity and remarkability are absolute watchwords for next year. So be a company and a support team that is easy to use, and make stuff that is remarkable and fun to share for people. If at all possible, do it for them. Even though it takes longer and it can sometimes be a bit faffy, the customer will be incredibly grateful, and it's a real wow moment for a lot of customers. And I'd consider making some 2021 customer success calls now. So get on the phone and ask your customers, what are you planning for next year? What does it look like? And then you can start gathering that material to make sure that you have it ready to support them as they go forward into next year. Obviously, we'd be delighted if you'd consider to use customer thermometer for that sort of activity. We can provide this simple single view across all the different customer touch points, and there's a free trial available on our website. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, my email address is there, or we are always on our website on live chat.